So this one's called reaction and action, or just reaction. So the important concept is that you need adrenaline to keep your blood pressure going for all of you, and it keeps your heart rate up. But there's sort of a global body response. If you watch the other videos, it gets into it for the entire video YouTube channel. But one thing is that your brain gets activated sort of as response, as a bystander response, that sort of fight or flight response, that overdrive, that sort of lower brain, downstairs brain, called upstairs brain, is that more creative imagination, thinking, analytical, that gets the more part of us that sort of, well, we're not in fight or flight, that works, that creative imagination, analytical, but in adrenaline states, it's more that survival thinking, that instinctive. That's not our best thinking often. It's more automatic, reactive. So the important thing is in a sympathetic state, you have to be very aware of how that might impact you on the daily. This is not blaming people. This is not saying it's an excuse. This is not saying it's your fault. And this is not giving attribution to make you feel bad. This is saying it is what it is. And just like any other health condition, it is what it is, and we work through it. But you'll notice sometimes with a sympathetic brain, the adrenaline brain or adrenergic brain of POTS, people with external events or stimuli in the world, much more reactive. So take a person who doesn't have a reactive sympathetic adrenaline brain, they might respond to a stimulus versus a person who doesn't have POTS differently. So the same event might cause a different reaction and different action. So you may have the same event in the world, and the person with POTS might have a different response or different interpretation because of that downstairs brain, the adrenaline response. So what might seem one way for one person, for the POTS to be different. And again, it's not saying that one person's right or wrong, or one's better or right. It is what it is. And you want to start to be aware of this and how it might be influencing it, because it can really sometimes derail relationships, work, education opportunities, and moving your forward. Manifestations can be is, for example, you get a patient email my chart. What do they mean by that? It may have been just as simple as this is what we need to do. It doesn't mean anything more than that. Or someone says something to you. What did that mean? This very reaction. It might not mean anything more than just the situation that it is. You go into a pharmacy and you feel very like reactive. Like, what did that mean? Or how did that mean that way? You feel very reactive. So the key is starting to be paying attention. Could it really be this POTS adrenaline sympathetic downstairs brain? And start putting that pattern together. It may not really be the situation. It could be my brain in sympathetic state, and really putting that pattern together. That's really important. Sometimes people need to start logging it and catching themselves. Oh, that's just my brain in adrenaline. You can catch yourself. If that doesn't work, then people may need to work more with a health psychologist, which is not, again, saying sign of weakness or someone being a wimp or a bad person or less than, to really do more of a formatted program to reprogram that brain, to get the brain stuck out of that downstairs loop, because the brain is like a circuit. It's like a computer to break that process, that wiring. But it's a little teaching about the sympathetic brain and that reaction leads to an action. So I appreciate you listening to this. Thank you so much.